What if I told you that 2020, the so-called year of the two-headed snake, might not bring the fortune you expect, but instead could lead you straight into hidden dangers within your own home? Right now, many believe that a year with two springs is a golden chance. Double growth, double luck, double wealth. But what if that belief blinds you? What if, like a cracked mirror by your front door, this year reflects not just opportunity, but also traps you can't yet see? 2025 is no ordinary year. The two-headed snake is no ordinary symbol. One head promises prosperity, but the other whispers of mistakes waiting to happen. Small choices that could turn light into shadow before you even notice. This is the year where fortune and failure walk side by side, and only those who see clearly can choose the right path. So look at your life, at your home. Are there unnoticed cracks? A broken object kept out of habit? A blocked doorway? Just as these things disturb the energy flow in your space, 2020 will disturb the flow of your destiny, unless you act with awareness. In the next few moments, we'll uncover why 2025's two springs, its leap month, and its two-headed snake symbol create a rare and dangerous crossroads. And more importantly, we'll learn how to clear the shadows and open the way for true golden light. Ask yourself now, in the year of the two-headed snake, will you walk the path of gold, or let shadows take root where you thought light lived? Section 1, the two springs, a door once left unopened. Imagine your front door, heavy, solid, perhaps even beautiful. But when was the last time you truly opened it wide, letting fresh air and light flood in? Many of us grow so used to stepping through that door each day without a second thought that we forget what it means to truly open it. We forget what it means to stand at the threshold, to pause, and to choose whether to step into the world with intention or simply drift along as before. 2020 is that door, a door that will be knocked on not once but twice. This is the rare year of two springs, two beginnings, two awakenings, two chances, but also two tests. In the old saying, a year of two springs, the land yields gold. But few remember the second part. Gold mixed with mud deceives the careless eye. You see, the two springs are not merely a gift of nature's rhythm. They are a mirror of our own readiness. The first spring knocks gently, offering renewal, fresh energy, the chance to plant new seeds in business, in family, in spirit. The second spring knocks louder, asking, have you truly opened the door, or have you only pretended to? In Eastern tradition, spring is more than a season. It is the breath of the earth returning. The Lapwan, the beginning of spring, marks the very moment when life stirs under the soil, when roots awaken, and when the flow of chi shifts from rest to action. In most years, this moment comes once, but in 2025, it comes twice, as if the universe itself is saying, I will give you another chance. But beware. Chances come with choices, and choices come with consequences. So what does this mean for your life? It means that in 2025, you will face two thresholds, two times when the world will invite you to begin again. The first may feel easy, full of hope, ideas, excitement. The second will demand more. It will ask whether you have learned from the first, whether you have cleared the way, whether your door is truly open. But what happens when that door has been left unopened for too long? The hinges stiffen, dust gathers, the light that could have streamed through is blocked, and so it is with opportunity. When we fail to clear the path, to truly open ourselves to new beginnings, the gift of two springs can become a burden. The door that should have led to gold instead opens to confusion, delay, and lost chances. In the physical world, this may show up in small, almost invisible ways. A doorway cluttered with shoes you no longer wear, a welcome mat worn thin and forgotten, a threshold darkened by dust and neglect. In energy, these are not small at all. They are the signs that tell fortune. This house is not ready. This spirit is not prepared. And so the two springs of 2025 are more than dates on a calendar. They are calls to action. The first calls softly, begin again. The second calls firmly, begin wisely. And between them lies a test. Will you clear the path? Will you open your door, not just in ritual, but in truth? Will you let go of what blocks the light? Because with two springs comes double energy, but also double risk, double opportunity, but also double consequence. If you plant seeds without thought, twice the effort may be wasted. If you open the door blindly, twice the confusion may enter. If you step forward without clearing the threshold, you may find yourself tripping not once, but twice. So how can you meet the year of two springs with clarity? Begin with your space. Look at your front door. Is it clean? Are the hinges smooth? Does light enter freely? Clear away what no longer serves. Shake out the mat, polish the handle, sweep the threshold. This is not superstition. This is symbolism made real, a way to align the outer world with your inner readiness. Next, look at your intentions. The first spring invites dreaming. The second demands decision. Let the space between them be a time of reflection. What seeds will you plant? Where will you direct your energy? What doors will you choose to walk through? And which will you finally close? Remember, two springs do not guarantee gold. They guarantee choice, and choice left unmade becomes shadow. The two-headed snake of 2025 represents this perfectly. One head points the way to golden fields, fertile and full of promise. The other leads toward tangled paths where delay and indecision let weeds overtake the crop. Which head will guide you? Which door will you open? In the months ahead, as the first spring arrives, pause. Do not rush. Breathe deeply by your door. Feel the energy of beginning. As the second spring approaches, look again. Ask yourself, what have I learned? What must I clear? What path do I choose now with wiser eyes? The universe rarely knocks twice. In 2025, it will. But only you can choose to hear that knock, to open the door wide, to let in the light, and to step forward onto the path that leads not to shadow, but to gold. Section 2. The two-headed snake, a cracked mirror reflecting the future. Look at the mirror in your home, the one you pass every day without noticing, the one that perhaps has a small crack running through its edge, a crack you've grown so used to that you no longer see it. But each morning when light filters through your windows, that crack bends the reflection ever so slightly. What you see is not quite true. What shines back at you is not quite whole. The two-headed snake of 2025 is that cracked mirror, a symbol that seems at first glance to promise strength and mystery, wisdom and power. But like the fractured glass, it holds a hidden warning. The path ahead may not be what it appears. The light you trust could hide the shadow you fear. In Eastern tradition, the snake is no ordinary creature. It moves between worlds, of earth and water, of seen and unseen. It sheds its skin, leaving the past behind, renewing itself again and again. But a snake with two heads, that is no common sign. That is a creature of duality, of tension, of choice. One head looks to the future, searching for opportunity, for the golden fields of fortune that lie just beyond the horizon. The other turns back, its gaze fixed on the past, guarding old fears, old failures, old habits that should have been left behind. And so it is with 2025. A year of two springs, of two chances, but also a year of two pulls, one urging you forward, one tempting you to linger in what no longer serves. The two-headed snake does not choose for you. It only reveals the split. It only reflects what is already within. Ask yourself, when you stand before that cracked mirror each morning, do you see the truth? Or do you see only what you wish to see? Do you look ahead, or do your eyes drift to the fracture, to the flaw, to the part that reminds you of what once was? In life, the two-headed snake will test you in the small, unnoticed ways, in the moments when you must decide whether to act or wait, when you must choose whether to speak or remain silent, when you must step onto a new path or stay safely where you are. Each head will call to you, one with the promise of golden light, one with the comfort of familiar shadows. The danger is subtle. Like the crack in the mirror, it distorts without you realizing. The head that looks backward may seem to offer safety, but safety that binds. The head that looks forward may seem to offer risk, but risk that frees. And if you do not pause, if you do not look closely, you may follow the wrong head, the wrong reflection, the wrong light. Consider the ancient tales. The two-headed snake was said to guard sacred places, thresholds where great treasure or great danger awaited. Those who approached with clear intent, with open eyes, were allowed to pass. Those who came with fear, with greed, or with confusion found themselves lost in mazes of their own making. 2025 is that sacred place, that threshold, that test. The two-headed snake stands at the doorway, not to stop you, but to ask, which light will you follow? In your home, in your life, this symbol will show itself in the ordinary. A plan half made because you fear to commit. A relationship clung to because you fear to let go. A habit, a dream left on the shelf because you fear what stepping forward might cost. Each is a crack in the mirror. Each is a head of the snake pulling at you. And yet, the choice remains yours. The snake does not strike. The mirror does not shatter. Both simply reveal. Both simply reflect. So what can you do to meet this year with clarity? Start with the mirror itself. Look at it. Truly look. Is it clean? Is it whole? Does it reflect you as you are or as you were? If there is a crack, do not hide it with decoration. Do not pretend it isn't there. Either mend it or replace it. Let your mirror show you the truth, both the gold and the shadow. Next, look inward. When choices come, and they will come again and again this year, pause, breathe. Ask yourself, is this the head that leads to light, or the one that binds me to what I should release? Clear your space. Clear your mind. Clear your heart. The two-headed snake will not clear the path for you. That is your task. Its gift is only to reveal the fork in the road. Its gift is only to show you that the path to gold is there, but so is the path to shadow. And know this, no choice is too small. A word spoken in anger or kindness, a door opened or left closed, a chance seized or passed by. In each, the two-headed snake is present. In each, the cracked mirror reflects your intent. 2025 offers no easy answers, no guaranteed fortune, no promised failure. It offers only what the sea and the mirror offer: reflection, revelation, and the power to choose. So as this year unfolds and you find yourself at threshold after threshold, remember the two-headed snake does not lead, it points. The cracked mirror does not lie, it shows. And you, standing in the doorway, must decide, will you step into the golden light, or will you let shadows guide your way? Section 3, the leap month, light trapped between two seasons. Picture a window in your home, its glass dulled by dust, its curtain half drawn, its frame stiff with age. Morning after morning, light tries to enter, but that light, pure, golden, full of promise, finds itself caught, blocked by what you have forgotten or chosen not to see. 2025 is that window. The leap month, that rare, added slice of time, is the half-drawn curtain, the unseen dust, the hidden layer that traps the light between two seasons. A year that should flow with energy finds itself hesitating. A year that offers renewal finds itself paused, waiting for clarity that may never come unless you act. In the lunar calendar, a leap month is not just an extra set of days. It is a disruption, a ripple in the natural rhythm. Time stretches longer than usual. The cycle stutters. What should have been a smooth passage from one season to the next becomes a waiting room between them. And in that waiting room, the air grows heavy, the light grows dim. Why does this matter? Because energy, like water, like breath, like light, depends on flow. And 2025, with its leap month, risks blocking that flow. The ambitions you set in motion may stall. The plans you make may drift. The hopes you nurture may hang, suspended between beginning and fruition. The old masters spoke of the leap month as walking between two riverbanks, wading in two currents, neither fully in one world nor the next, neither fully anchored nor truly free. It is a time that can confuse the unwary, distract the impatient, exhaust the unprepared. But the leap month is not a curse. Like the two-headed snake, like the cracked mirror, it is a test. A mirror held up not to time, but to how we use it. Will you let that extra month become a place where energy pools and stagnates? Or will you use it as the gift, a pause, a breath, a chance to clear the dust, pull back the curtain, and let the trapped light in? Look around your home. Where is your own leap month hiding? Is it in the unfinished project gathering dust in the corner, the drawer of forgotten papers, the half-spoken words between you and a loved one, the plan you made in hope, then left waiting in silence? Each of these is a leap month, a place where energy has paused, where light has been trapped. And just like the leap month in 25, these pauses can be dangerous if left unnoticed. They can weigh on the heart, slow the mind, dim the spirit. They can turn opportunity into burden, potential into regret, but they can also be turned to purpose. The leap month stretches time. It gives you space. Space to clean, to clear, to choose. Space to notice what you have ignored. Space to open what you have kept closed. The window in your home, open it. The curtain, pull it wide. Let the fresh air sweep through. Let the golden morning fill the room. Let what was trapped find its way out, and what was waiting find its way in. The leap month is a reminder. Time is not always as steady as we think. There are years like 2025 when time itself invites us to pause, to reflect, to act with care, to stop rushing forward blindly, and instead to move with intention. This is a year when the usual pace will not serve you. When trying to force things, push plans too fast, chase goals too hard, may lead only to frustration. The leap month is a teacher of patience, but also of preparedness. It says, wait, but do not be idle. Pause, but do not sleep. Breathe, but do not forget to act. So how can you meet the leap month with wisdom? Begin where you are. Look at the calendar, yes. Mark the dates, but more importantly, look at your life. Where has energy paused? Where have you let light get trapped? What have you begun, but not yet completed? And then, clear it. Finish the small tasks. Speak the unsaid words. Dust the forgotten corners. Open the blocked windows. Create movement where there has been stillness. Not frantic movement, not the rushing of one who fears the pause, but the steady, mindful clearing of one who understands. This is my chance. This is my moment to let the light through. Because when the leap month passes and time resumes its usual flow, what you have left undone will not vanish. It will remain. The dust will settle thicker. The curtain will hang heavier. The trapped light will grow weaker. And the path you hope to walk may be harder to find. 2025 offers this rare pause not as a trap, but as a gift. A chance to choose what to carry forward and what to leave behind. A chance to notice where your own light is waiting, caught between two seasons. So as this year unfolds, remember, the leap month is not lost time. It is found time. Time given to you to clean the glass, to pull back the curtain, to let the golden light enter fully at last. Ask yourself now, where in my life is the light waiting? Where have I let it stay trapped? And what will I do in this rare pause to set it free? Section 4, Family Bonds, a corner that still holds old memories. There's a corner in every home, quiet, unnoticed, gathering layers of time. Perhaps it holds a stack of letters yellowed with age, a chair no one sits in anymore, a shelf of forgotten trinkets that once had meaning but now only gather dust. You pass that corner every day. You tell yourself it's harmless, just part of the room. But slowly, gently, that corner shapes the energy of your space. In 2025, the year of the two-headed snake, that corner becomes more than just a corner. It becomes a mirror of your heart. One head of the snake looks forward, urging you to build new connections, to nurture love, to strengthen the bonds that hold family together. The other head glances back, pulling at the ties of old wounds, of unspoken words, of memories that no longer serve but still weigh heavy in quiet moments. 2 springs, a leap month, and a year of duality, all of these magnify what lies hidden. Family bonds, already delicate, will feel this pull most deeply. You may find yourself stirred by memories you thought you had laid to rest. Old disagreements may surface, triggered by small things, a glance, a word, a silence, a feeling of distance, where once there was closeness. Why? Because the energy of 2025 is a tide that lifts both the treasures and the debris of the heart. The two-headed snake reminds us to walk forward in love, we must first choose what to carry and what to release. Think of that corner again. Each object there once carried meaning, a gift from a parent now gone, a souvenir from a trip taken long ago, a token from a time of joy or sorrow. But when meaning fades and only habit remains, those objects become anchors, not to love, but to longing, not to connection, but to weight. And so it is with the unseen corners of our relationships. The old argument never truly resolved, the apology never spoken, the thank you never said, the hurt never acknowledged. These are the things that gather in the corners of the heart, shaping how we see, how we speak, how we hold one another. 2025 offers you 2 beginnings, 2 springs, 2 chances. But they come with a question. Will you clear the corner? Will you let light touch what you have kept hidden? What happens if you don't? The corner darkens, the dust thickens, the weight of memory grows heavier, and in moments of challenge, an illness, a loss, a change, the bonds you thought were strong may strain or break beneath the load. But if you do, if you clear the corner with gentle hands, with open heart, with courage, the light that enters can warm even the coldest space. The bonds that felt fragile can become strong again. The love that felt distant can find its way home. So how do you begin? Not with grand gestures, not with sweeping declarations, but with simple acts of clearing. Look at the physical corner first. Choose a quiet morning. Let soft light fill the room. One by one, pick up the objects. Ask yourself, does this still serve love? Does this still bring light? If yes, clean it. Place it with care. If no, release it. Let it go with gratitude for what it once meant. Then look at the corners within, the words unspoken, the moments you regret, the small distances that have grown larger with time. Choose one, just one, and take a step to clear it. A phone call, a note, a hand held longer than usual, a quiet, honest word. 2020, with its two-headed snake, does not promise easy harmony. It promises the chance to choose which head to follow, the one that clings to what was, or the one that reaches for what can be. In family, this choice is not always simple. Love brings joy, but it also brings hurt. Connection brings comfort, but it also brings challenge. The two-headed snake knows this. It shows you both sides and asks, which will you nurture? Which will you free? Remember, a corner that holds only old memories leaves no room for new ones. A heart that carries only past hurt leaves no space for present joy. A home that clings to what was cannot fully welcome what is. Let 2025 be the year you open the corner, the year you let light in, the year you choose with care and intention, the bonds you wish to strengthen, the year you finally set down the weight that no longer belongs to you. Ask yourself now, as the year of the two-headed snake unfolds, in the quiet corners of my home, of my heart, what am I ready to clear? And what light am I ready to welcome in its place? Section 5, Career. The door of opportunity sometimes opens just a crack. Imagine a door in your home. It looks solid, dependable, but when you try to open it, the hinge sticks, the frame resists. The door gives way only a little, just enough for you to glimpse the light beyond, but not enough for you to step through. In 2025, your career path may feel like that door. The year of the two-headed snake brings with it opportunities. Yes, but many of them will not swing wide and obvious. Instead, they will appear as narrow openings, moments that pass quickly, chances that demand both readiness and courage. The energy of this year will test your ability to see those cracks of light and to act before they close. Because opportunity in 2025 is not loud. It does not shout. It knocks softly, and sometimes only once. Think of a time when you hesitated, when you stood at the threshold, uncertain whether to step forward or stay where it felt safe. The two-headed snake watches in those moments. One head urges you on, seize the chance. The path may not open like this again. The other whispers caution. Stay, wait. Another door will open. Both voices have truth, and both carry risk. Step too quickly, and you may find the ground unsteady. Wait too long, and the door may close forever. 2025 asks you to move with both awareness and intention, to watch for the door that opens, even if just a crack, and to know when that crack is enough. In ancient wisdom, opportunity is compared to morning dew, shining, fleeting, gone with the first strong sun. It does not linger. It does not wait. And so it is with career chances this year. They may come quietly, an unexpected conversation, a small new task, a subtle invitation. But behind them may lie the path to something greater. So how can you prepare? Begin by looking at the doors in your own space. Are they free to open? Are the hinges oiled, the pathways clear? These small acts of care in your home mirror the readiness you must carry in your work. Next, look at your daily habits, the work you do, the effort you give, the attitude you bring. Are you watching for the cracks of light? Are you prepared to act when they appear? Because in 2020, those who are ready will find that even a narrow door can lead to a wide and golden path. But those who delay, waiting for the perfect opportunity, may find that no door opens wide enough. The two-headed snake teaches that fortune often favors those who act, not rashly but decisively. Consider, too, the nature of the doors you choose. Not every opening leads to gold. Some may lead to shadow. The crack in the door is only the beginning. What lies beyond is revealed only as you step forward. And so before you act, pause, breathe, ask yourself, does this path align with my values? Does this opportunity serve my true purpose? Because in a year of duality, some doors may glitter with promise, but hide obstacles within. Others may seem small and plain, but open onto fields of light. The key is clarity of mind, of heart, of intention. In your home, you would not step through a door without knowing where it leads. So too in your work. Let each step you take in 2025 be guided not by fear of missing out, nor by hunger for quick gain, but by a steady trust in your chosen path. And if the door opens only a crack, do not despair. Sometimes the narrowest opening is the most precious, because it asks more of you. It asks for faith, for effort, for care, and what you build by passing through such a door will often last longer, shine brighter, and serve more deeply than what comes easily. 2025 offers no promises. The two-headed snake opens no doors for you. It only points to the light ahead or the shadow beside. The rest is yours. So as this year unfolds and you stand before each door of opportunity, remember, listen for the knock, however soft. Watch for the crack of light, however small. And when you see it, step forward with courage. For sometimes the door of opportunity opens just a crack, but that is all the space you need to pass into a new and golden future. Ask yourself now, in my career, am I waiting for the door to swing wide? Or am I ready to step through the crack of light that is already there? Section 6, Wealth, an object that seems harmless, but holds old sorrows. In every home, there is an object kept out of habit rather than purpose. A chipped vase on a shelf, a cracked bowl tucked away in a cupboard, a faded picture frame holding a memory long since dulled by time. These things seem harmless. We pass them without a second thought, but quietly, silently, they hold energy, and not always the kind we wish to invite. 2025, the year of the two-headed snake, is a time when such hidden energies matter more than ever. A year of duality, of choices, of unseen currents flowing beneath the surface. A year where wealth, true wealth, is shaped not only by what we seek, but by what we allow to remain. In the language of energy, what is broken holds a story. A crack is a memory of loss. A chip is the mark of something once whole, now changed. And when we keep these things in places of honor, in living rooms, on dining tables, near entryways, we invite that story to stay. We let the old sorrow, the old regret, the old scarcity linger in spaces meant for abundance. The two-headed snake reminds us, wealth is not just what we gain, it is also what we release. One head urges us toward gold, toward growth, toward prosperity, toward the new. The other holds us back, whispering of what was, of what might have been, of what we could not bear to let go. Look around your home. Where do these objects live? The chipped vase filled with dried branches, the cracked bowl holding coins or keys, the broken figurine you meant to mend, but never did. Each one is a silent message to the energy of wealth. This space is not yet ready. This home holds on to the past. This heart fears to release. And so the flow of fortune pauses at the threshold. It hesitates. It waits for an invitation that never comes. This year, more than most, asks you to see clearly, to look beyond the surface, to ask of each object, does this support my path to light? or does it anchor me in shadow? True wealth begins in openness, in readiness, in a space cleared of sorrow disguised as sentiment. This does not mean discarding every old thing. It means choosing with care, honoring what uplifts, releasing what weighs down. In ancient practice, before planting in spring, farmers would walk their fields. They would remove stones, clear broken branches, burn away weeds, not because these things were evil, but because they blocked the growth to come. So too in your home, in your life. The objects that block wealth are not evil. They are simply out of season. 2025 gives you 2 springs, 2 chances, 2 invitations. With each, ask yourself, what in my space, my habits, my beliefs needs clearing? What am I clinging to that no longer feeds my future? Begin gently. Choose one object, the vase, the bowl, the frame. Hold it. Remember its story. Thank it for what it once meant. And then let it go. Donate it. Recycle it. Return it to the earth. Create space for the new, for the fresh, for the light that seeks a place to land. And do not stop with objects alone. Look at patterns. Do you hold on to ways of thinking that no longer serve? Do you believe that wealth must be hard-won, or fleeting, or always just beyond reach? These too are like the chipped vase, once useful, now a barrier. The 2-headed snake teaches that both heads exist within us, the part that seeks gold and the part that clings to sorrow, the part that opens the hand and the part that grips too tightly, the part that welcomes the new and the part that fears the unknown. To walk the path of wealth in 2025 is to choose daily, gently, with awareness, to release what no longer supports your light, to clear the shelf, the drawer, the thought, to make room for what wants to come. And know this, wealth is not only coins or bills or titles. It is peace in your home, warmth in your relationships, health in your body, joy in your days. Each time you clear away an object that holds old sorrow, you invite these forms of wealth to enter. So as this year unfolds, ask yourself often, what am I ready to release? What space can I create for abundance? What light am I ready to welcome in place of shadow? The chipped vase, the cracked bowl, the broken frame, these are not mistakes. They are reminders. They ask you to choose. Will I carry this sorrow forward? Or will I set it down and step into the light? Final, picture yourself standing at your doorway. It is dawn. The world outside is quiet. The first light of morning soft against your face. You place your hand on the handle. The door that has so long guarded your space waits, ready. But before you open it, you pause. You breathe. In this stillness, you feel it. The weight of what you have carried, the cracked vase you kept too long, the words unspoken in your home, the opportunities you watched pass by, waiting for a better time, the corners you left in shadow. 2020 is not here to judge you for these things. It comes with no harsh demands. It offers simply a choice. Like the 2-headed snake at the threshold, it asks, which way will you turn? Toward the gold of new beginnings or toward the shadows of what no longer serves? And the beauty is this, no one else can choose for you. No calendar, no symbol, no ancient saying. The choice is yours. In each morning breath, in each hand reaching to open a door, in each quiet decision to clear a space, speak a word, let go of what weighs you down. So as the light grows stronger, as the day begins, stand for one moment longer in that doorway. Feel the air move around you. Feel the warmth of possibility waiting just beyond the threshold. And ask yourself gently, in the house of my life, have I made space for the golden light? Or am I still living among the shadows? Then, when you are ready, open the door. Step forward. Let the year begin.